Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the San Francisco Board of Supervisors meeting for Tuesday, September 6, 2016. Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Thank you, Madam President. Supervisor Avalos? Avalos present. President Breed?
Here.
Breed present. Supervisor Campos?
Present.
Campos present. Supervisor Cohen? Cohen present. Supervisor Farrell? Farrell present. Supervisor Kim? Kim present. Supervisor Marr? Marr not present. Supervisor Peskin?
Present.
Peskin present. Supervisor Tang?
Present.
Tang present. Supervisor Wiener?
Present.
Wiener present. Supervisor Yee? Yee not present. Madam President, you have a quorum.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Can you please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, Madam Clerk, are there any communications?
I have none to report, Madam President.
Okay, colleagues, are there any changes to the following meeting minutes? The July 12th, 2016, July 19th, July 26th, August 2nd regular board meeting minutes, or the July 19th, the July 28th at 8:30 a.m., July 28th at 8:40 a.m., the July 29th at 10 a.m., the July 29th, 10:30 a.m., or the July 29th, 10:35 a.m. special board meeting minutes. Seeing none, is there a motion to approve those minutes? Motioned by Supervisor Marr, seconded by Supervisor Peskin. Colleagues, can we take that without objection? Without objection, those meeting minutes will be passed after public comment. All right, Madam Clerk, let's go to the consent agenda.
Items 1 and 2 comprise the consent agenda. These items are considered routine. If a member objects, an item may be removed and considered separately.
Seeing no names on the roster, Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll?
On items 1 and 2, Supervisor Tang?
Aye.
Tang, aye. Supervisor Wiener?
Aye.
Wiener, aye. Supervisor Yee? Yee,
Aye.
aye. Supervisor Avalos? Avalos, aye. Supervisor Breed?
Aye.
Breed, aye. Supervisor Campos? Campos, aye. Supervisor Cohen?
Aye.
Cohen, aye. Supervisor Farrell? Farrell, aye. Supervisor Kim? Kim, aye. Supervisor Marr?
Aye.
Marr, aye. Supervisor Peskin? Peskin, aye. There are 11 ayes.
Those ordinances are finally passed unanimously. Next item, please.
Item 3 is an ordinance to amend the police code to make technical amendments to the paid parental leave ordinance consistent with its original intent.
Colleagues, can we take this item, same house, same call? Without objection, the ordinance finally passes unanimously. Item number 4.
Item 4 is a motion to appoint retired Superior Court Judge Quentin L. Kopp, term ending February 1st, 2017, to the Ethics Commission.
Colleagues, can we take this item, same house, same call? Without
Roll
objection.
call vote, please.
Oh, Supervisor, okay. Madam Clerk, on this item, can you please call the roll?
On item 4, Supervisor Tang?
Aye.
Tang, aye. Supervisor Wiener?
Aye.
Wiener, aye. Supervisor Yee?
Aye.
Yee, aye. Supervisor Avalos?
No.
Avalos, no. Supervisor Breed?
Aye.
Breed, aye. Supervisor Campos?
Aye.
Campos, aye. Supervisor Cohen?
Aye.
Cohen, aye. Supervisor Farrell? Farrell, aye. Supervisor Kim? Kim, aye. Supervisor Marr?
Aye.
Marr, aye. Supervisor Peskin? Peskin, aye. There are 10 ayes and 1 no with Supervisor Avalos in the dissent.
The motion is approved. Madam Clerk, please call number 5.
Item 5 is a motion to appoint Jesse Sandoval, term ending March 1st, 2018, to the In-Home Supportive Services Public Authority.
All right. Seeing no names on the roster, Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll?
On item 5, Supervisor Tang?
Aye.
Tang, aye. Supervisor Wiener?
Aye.
Wiener, aye. Supervisor Yee?
Aye.
Yee, aye. Supervisor Avalos? Avalos, aye. Supervisor Breed?
Aye.
Breed, aye. Supervisor Campos?
Aye.
Campos, aye. Supervisor Cohen?
Aye.
Cohen, aye. Supervisor Farrell? Farrell, aye. Supervisor Kim? Kim, aye. Supervisor Marr?
Aye.
Marr, aye. Supervisor Peskin? Peskin, aye. There are 11 ayes.
The motion is approved unanimously. All right. Let's go to
Madam President,
Oh, Supervisor Yee.
seeing that we're ahead of schedule, I'd like to ask that we rescind the consent votes, agenda vote.
You voted on the consent agenda, Supervisor Yee. You did not vote on the meeting minutes, so we can rescind that vote.
Please, thank you.
Okay. Supervisor Yee has made a motion to rescind the vote on the meeting minutes, seconded by Supervisor Kim. Colleagues, can we take that without objection? Without objection, the vote on the meeting minutes have been rescinded. And is there a motion to approve those minutes? Motion by Supervisor Marr, seconded by Supervisor Yee. Colleagues, can we take that without objection? Without objection, those meeting minutes for the board meetings and special meetings will be passed after public comment. All right, Madam Clerk, let's skip over to committee reports.
Items 12 and 13 were considered by the Government Audit and Oversight Committee at a special meeting on Thursday, September 1st, 2016 at 9:30 a.m., and the committee forwarded these two items as committee reports. Item 12 is a resolution to respond to the presiding judge of the Superior Court on the findings and recommendations contained in the 2015 through 2016 Civil Grand Jury Report entitled San Francisco's Crime Lab, Promoting Confidence and Building Credibility, and urging the mayor to cause the implementation of accepted findings and recommendations through his department heads and through the development of the annual budget. Item 13, Madam President.
No, item 12 is fine. Okay. Colleagues, can we take this item, same house, same call? Without objection, the resolution is adopted unanimously. Item 13.
Item 13 is a resolution to authorize the mayor to cast ballots in the affirmative on behalf of the City and County of San Francisco as owner of 5 parcels of real property over which the Board of Supervisors has jurisdiction, where those parcels would be subject to the proposed modifications to the Management District Plan and Engineers Report for the Business Improvement District known as the Central Market Community Benefit District.
Colleagues, can we take this item, same house, same call? Without objection, the resolution is adopted unanimously. Let's go to roll call for introductions.
Supervisor Wiener is first to introduce new business.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Wow, that was fast. Colleagues, welcome back. I hope everyone had a wonderful August recess. Today, I am introducing legislation that is part 2 of legislation that I authored and that the board unanimously passed earlier this year, the solar rooftop mandate. You'll recall that the legislation requires that for buildings of between 1 and 10 stories, the rooftop, 15% of the space on the rooftop must be covered by solar panels. This is a great step toward a clean energy future, and it made us the first large city in the country to adopt this requirement. The legislation I'm introducing today is part 2 of that legislation. We had initially intended to combine the two into one piece of legislation, but for a variety of reasons, we split it into 2. And this legislation will allow, as an alternative to the solar rooftop requirement, allow for a green roof instead. The solar roof requirement requires that 15% of the rooftop be covered in solar energy or solar panels. This legislation allows that instead of the solar panels, that 30% of the rooftop can be covered with a green roof. We expect that many developers will choose to have some sort of combination of solar and green rooftops. Green rooftops are an incredibly important piece of an environmentally sustainable future in San Francisco and beyond. Using our rooftop space to have more greenery has many benefits. It will help clean the air and absorb carbon. In addition, green rooftops absorb stormwater in order to reduce the amount of stormwater runoff that goes into our combined sewer systems. Green roofs also improve the energy efficiency of the building, and they can provide a great amenity for residents or workers in the building. We work closely with the Department of the Environment and the Planning Department on this legislation, as well as other stakeholders, including SPUR, and I look forward to moving this legislation forward. I want to thank my office for working on this, in particular Andres Power, and colleagues. The rest I submit.
Thank you, Supervisor Wiener. Supervisor Yee.
I just want to bear some good news, I guess, since we met the last time, that now I have become a first-time grandparent of a granddaughter that was born on August 18th. The rest I submit.
Thank you, Supervisor Yee. Supervisor Avalos.
Submit.
Supervisor Campos.
Thank you. I have a couple of items. The first is a resolution that I'm introducing in support of California State Senate Bill 1289, which is a bill that has been authored by Senator Ricardo Lara. This bill would prohibit private for-profit companies from operating immigration detention facilities in California and would actually require that all detention facilities protect detainees' essential health and human rights. The bill addresses critical issues related to human rights. Since 2003, more than 100 people have died in immigration detention here in the United States. Many of these deaths were caused by a lack of medical care, including a failure to adhere to basic detention standards. Privatization is driving over-incarceration, with corporations fighting to detain more people so that they can actually maximize their profits. 62% of detention beds in the U.S. are operated by private prison companies. Local so-called lockup quotas, where facilities are incentivized to fill beds, are written into contracts of many of these facilities, including contracts here in California. Heavy lobbying in Washington, D.C. by these private prison corporations such as CCA and the GEO Group have increased reliance on immigration detention and has fueled mass incarceration throughout this country. The bill that Senator Lara has introduced would make publicly run detention centers more accountable with regards to human rights. The law creates legally actionable standards for immigrants that are suffering inhumane detention conditions. This bill, SB 1289, would make California the first state in the country to create enforceable standards that are specific to immigration detention facilities. SB 1289 also calls on the state to address LGBT rights. Even though the state of California has taken steps to advance LGBTQ rights in other arenas, when it comes to immigration detention, LGBTQ immigrants are routinely cast aside. LGBTQ immigrants are not only subject to the same abuses as other immigrants, but also to higher rates of solitary confinement and sexual abuse. SB 1289 actually provides additional protections for members of the LGBTQ community in these facilities. 1289 would end the solitary confinement that is regularly used as a form of discipline and to isolate certain populations, including a disproportionate number of transgender detainees. Such practices not only are unfair and inhumane, but only aggravate isolation, depression, and other mental health problems associated with past trauma. I urge you to support this bill, SB 1289, and I want to thank Supervisors Avalos, Kim, Peskin, and Marr for their co-sponsorship of that resolution. The second item is an in memoriam, and I'd like to ask that we close this meeting in the memory of Gloria Best, who was a leader at the Holly Courts community for many, many years here in Bernal Heights. Gloria Best was born in Detroit, Michigan on September 6, 1927. She has 3 brothers, 2 sisters, 3 children as well, Alan, Dana, Paul, and 2 grandchildren, Gerald and Doreen. Gloria loved ice skating, dancing, and doing art, and went to church where she studied scriptures every day. Gloria worked for many years as a professional waitress, medical assistant, and raised 3 of her sons doing that. She was also crowned Miss Long Island in 1951. I didn't know that. Sadly, she developed lung cancer a few years ago and passed away on Friday, August 12th. She was a community leader who dedicated so much time to the Holly Court community. She served as secretary of the tenant council in Holly Courts for many, many years. She always had a smile on her face and had the biggest heart for her neighbors. She was always attending community meetings and up to the where she was no longer physically able to. Her presence will truly be missed by that community, especially by residents of the council team and our community in Holly Courts. Gloria Best Memorial is on Wednesday, September 7th from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m., and it will be at the Bernal Heights Neighborhood Center at 515 Cortlandt Avenue. Rest in peace, Gloria. Lastly, I have an in memoriam in memory of a very well-known and legendary artist from Mexico, an icon, really, of Mexican, not just music, but culture, Juan Gabriel. Juan Gabriel recently passed away, actually a few days ago. He was born Alberto Aguilera Valadez on January 7, 1950, in the state of Michoacan. His father, Gabriel Aguilera, was committed to a mental hospital, and his mother took him and his 9 siblings to Ciudad Juarez, Mexico. Unable to support their family, she placed Juan Gabriel in a children's home when he was 5. It was there that he met Juan Contreras, a deaf musician who had played in a band. Juan Gabriel, or Alberto, which was his actual name, chose the stage name in honor of both his father and Mr. Contreras. Juan Gabriel said both the pain and the joys of his childhood course through his music. He was a populist at heart, and as a member of the LGBT community, I think it's really hard to explain to people who don't know who Juan Gabriel was, how in a country that is so macho and has very stereotypical views of what it means to be male and what it means to be straight and what it means to be a man and what it means to be a human, that in that country, someone as flamboyant, who was essentially as gay as you got, would become a national hero. And even though he never technically came out, through his work in a very subversive way, Juan Gabriel really challenged our notions of sexuality, of masculinity, of femininity, and in so doing, really educated an entire country. And what's so remarkable about Juan Gabriel is that you see in a family different generations that have been impacted by him. And even though he was a Mexican artist, his influence went beyond Mexico, and I think that it's fair to say that the entire Spanish-speaking world has been mourning his loss. I actually had the pleasure, the honor of seeing Juan Gabriel in concert, and I could never understand how, and I think that as a gay man I can say this word, one of the biggest queens that I have seen could have the following of some of the most macho, tough guys around. That was really the artistry, the humanity, and the unique nature of what Juan Gabriel was about. I know that a lot has been said about him, but as a gay man and as a Latino gay man, I especially want to thank him for making it possible for so many of us to actually be accepted in a culture that at times seemed apprehensive about sexuality and certainly questioned whether or not you could be a man and still be effeminate and flamboyant. Juan Gabriel, I think, was an example of how, at the end of the day, the connection that we as humans have with one another and the ability to relate to one's experiences really transcends our own biases and our own stereotypes. So with that, I want to today do an in memoriam to Juan Gabriel and everything that he represented, not only for Mexico, but for the Spanish-speaking community throughout the world, and quite frankly, music and art in the entire world. May he rest in peace.
Thank you, Supervisor Campos. Supervisor Cohen. Supervisor Farrell. Supervisor Kim. Supervisor Marr.
Thank you. I wanted to congratulate new Grandpa Norman Yee as well. Congratulations, Norman. I have a couple of quick items. This coming Sunday, it's the 4th annual Richmond District Jog in the Fog 5K run presented by Kaiser Permanente. It's Sunday, September 11th from 8 to 11 a.m. The jog begins in Supervisor Farrell's district in the beautiful Mountain Lake Park that's been upgraded thanks to neighbors and others. And they run through different parts of Seacliff along the lake and on the edge of the Richmond through Land's End and Lincoln Park. Please join us. It raises money for Richmond District community-based organizations like the YMCA. It's really fun. Many people walk it as well with the whole family. Enjoy a great course in one of the most beautiful places on earth through Land's End in San Francisco. Also, if you want information, it's joginthefog.com. I wanted to give a special shout out to Chrissy Ponciano, one of the health equity staff from the Richmond District YMCA, and many others who are putting so much time and effort into making a fun community building activity in the Richmond. Also, colleagues, today I'm introducing a resolution urging labor harmony in the development of transportation management plans, especially for the Recreation and Parks Department with the MTA. And I wanted to thank Supervisor Wiener and Peskin for championing this issue over other periods on this board. These management plans are critical in ensuring that large special events, like, for example, the Outside Lands that was in this past August, or the upcoming Hardly Strictly Bluegrass Festival, don't create unpleasant traffic jams, transit delays, and unnecessary stress for residents in the districts around the park. In March of 2015, this board unanimously passed a similar resolution urging the MTA to adopt a requirement of labor harmony for commuter shuttle operators. Those are the private shuttle operators. San Francisco Rec and Park Department, in conjunction with transit agencies like the MTA, has in its application process for special events a requirement for a transportation management plan. The MTA has found that the promotion of the use of private mass transportation vehicles have significant beneficial effects, provided that operational precautions, including permitting, the enforcement of standards, and the monitoring of the event itself are put into place. Transportation management plans must ensure that shuttles do not adversely affect public transportation operations. Labor disputes involving shuttle services that have participated in transportation to and from large events will likely result in the disruption of the orderly operation of mass public transit, the disruption of traffic, and prevent rider access to MTA vehicles. Because there's a substantial likelihood of disruption in the event of a labor dispute involving a private shuttle service, we as a board and a city should take into consideration of the extent to which the shuttle service has secured or provided for labor harmony, or at least working through the different potential conflicts with respect to their shuttling activities, and it must be a component of the mitigation plan. So the goal is to prevent unnecessary disruptions. So I'm introducing this resolution urging the Rec and Park Commission to stipulate in its special events application process a requirement of labor harmony conditions with respect to shuttle service providers, and to incorporate into the special events permit application process consideration of the extent to which an applicant can assure labor harmony in its operations in order to minimize possibility of disruption of public transit. It also urges the Rec and Park Department and Commission to define the term labor harmony broadly so that it doesn't require an application to adopt any particular method, so not a specific method of assuring that labor harmony. I urge your support. The rest I'll submit. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Marr. Supervisor Peskin.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Colleagues, today I'm introducing a supplemental appropriation to provide for earthquake relief to the communities of Italy in the wake of the devastating earthquake in central Italy that took almost 300 lives. As a city that is situated on the San Andreas Fault that was wiped out in 1906 and then again challenged in 1989. We know the outpouring and largesse that we receive from all over the world. We have a history of coming to the aid of cities around the world in 1999 and again in 2001, where we appropriated funds for earthquake relief. What comes around goes around. So today, I'm introducing a supplemental appropriations ordinance in the amount of $100,000 for earthquake relief to be meted out by our experts in the Department of Emergency Management. I know that we have a representative here from the Italian consulate in the audience today, and I'd like to acknowledge Luigi Biondi for his work and his colleagues' work in acting quickly to organize relief efforts here in San Francisco and around the world. And I ask for your support for this appropriation, and please help spread the word about the ongoing relief efforts that are happening here in San Francisco. I specifically want to acknowledge the folks who put together a huge fundraiser last week at the Italian American Athletic Club, which was very well attended, where I was asked to identify how our city could help in the relief efforts, and this is my answer to that. Speaking of earthquakes and seismic safety, I think we are all aware of the revelations with regard to the Millennium Tower, so I'm calling for a hearing on building standards in the city's various seismic zones, including those encompassing landfill along waterfront neighborhoods. The city has rezoned vast swaths of the city for increased height and density, and I'd like to understand the intersection between local and state building requirements and ensure the city is doing everything we can do to make sure that everything is being done to the highest of standards. Finally, I'd like to adjourn today's meeting in the memory of three individuals. First, one of San Francisco's own phenomenal characters, Warren Hinkle, whose memorial service and neighborhood citywide remembrance celebration was last week, and it was a vivid reminder of the indelible mark that he left on our city. He was a raucous and flamboyant editor who made Ramparts magazine a powerful national voice for the left in the 1960s, and later by championing the work of Hunter Thompson and his gonzo brand of investigative and satirical journalism. He was 77 years old and is survived by his daughters Hillary and Pia and his beloved partner Linda Corso. I would also like to adjourn today's board meeting in the memory of Delia Fleischacker-Ehrlich, who was a great philanthropist and involved in many wonderful San Francisco causes. And finally, for Judith Litke, a former nun who was at the forefront of the School of the Americas Watch movement and spent decades organizing support for Central American war refugees, as well as organizing protests against the United States Military Training Center for Latin American military leaders and dictators, formerly known as the SOA. The rest I will submit.
Thank you, Supervisor Peskin. Madam President, seeing no other names on the roster, that concludes the introduction of new business.
Thank you. And Madam Clerk, please add my name to the Warren Hinkle in memoriam.
Thank you, Madam President.
Oh, can we do the in memoriam for Warren Hinkle on behalf of the entire board?
So moved.
Without objection, we will adjourn today's meeting on behalf of the entire board in honor of the memory of the late Warren Hinkle. With that, this brings us past 2:30, and we have two commendations. I'm really excited to present the first commendation of the day. We have our special guests, the San Francisco's team, the San Francisco Giants. The president and CEO, Larry Baer, is here today, along with other members from the Giants for this special presentation. So I'm going to ask Mr. Baer to come up, along with Sue Peterson, who is the executive director of the Giants Community Fund and General Counsel for the Giants, Jack Baer, along with Roscoe Mapps, who is the Government Relations Manager. Thank you all for being here. Now, we are not here to present the San Francisco Giants with an award because they continue to win World Series. We are here to present them with an award because of the work that they do for the community. On the occasion of the San Francisco Giants being named the Sports Humanitarian Team of the Year by ESPN, the Board of Supervisors of the City and County of San Francisco extends its highest commendation and appreciation to the San Francisco Giants and the Giants Community Fund for the decades of community outreach efforts, including those through the Junior Giants program. So today, the San Francisco Giants, as we all know, they're an integral part of the institution in the city, arriving here in 1958. A MLB baseball team has a unique opportunity to be an informative voice and creative partner to improve the quality of life of its community, and it is in that same spirit that the San Francisco Giants established its nonprofit, the Giants Community Fund, in 1991. The Giants Community Fund collaborates with San Francisco Giants by using baseball as a form to support underserved youth and their families as they pursue healthy and productive lives. The Junior Giants is the largest youth baseball program managed by an MLB club with 25,000 participants statewide and over 1,300 of them in San Francisco. The flagship program of the Giants Community Fund, called the Junior Giants, was created as a free, non-competitive program for underserved girls and boys ages 5 through 18 to specifically help end the cycle of violence and in impoverished areas around the city. While baseball participation among 6 to 12-year-olds has decreased by 14% since 2008, the Junior Giants program has increased 62% in terms of their participation during the same time. That is truly amazing. The Junior Giants program offers a chance to learn the basics of baseball while discovering the importance of self-esteem and respect, becoming educated on the Junior Giants' 4 bases of character development, which include confidence, integrity, leadership, and teamwork, and incorporating fundamental life lessons in education, health, and bullying prevention. The Junior Giants is the largest youth baseball program managed by an MLB club with over 1,300 participants in San Francisco, as I said before. The program is implemented thanks in partnership to the Bayview Hunters Point YMCA, the Mission YMCA, and the San Francisco Rec and Park Department, as well as many other community organizations. Giant All-Star catcher Buster Posey serves as a Junior Giants commissioner, and the other Giants players, alumni, and front office staff perform integral roles and contribute to the success of the program. It is because of this extraordinary success of the Community Fund and the reach of the Junior Giants that the San Francisco Giants was named the recipient of the 2015 Commissioner's Award for Philanthropic Excellence by Major League Baseball and Baseball Commissioner Robert D. Manfred Jr. This program was recognized once again this year when the San Francisco Giants were awarded the 2016 Sports Humanitarian of the Year Award presented by ESPN, which celebrates and honors legends, teams, individuals, and members of the sporting community who are using the power of sport to make a measurable and positive impact on communities. It was an amazing honor. We are so fortunate to have not just an amazing team, but amazing folks who care about doing what's necessary to give back to the community. So on behalf of the City and County of San Francisco and the Board of Supervisors, we commend the San Francisco Giants for its work in this regard. And thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you so much, President Breed. Thank you. I want to thank President Breed and all the members of the board for this outstanding recognition. It is much appreciated. We're deeply touched and humbled and honored to receive your commendation and also to receive the ESPN Humanitarian Award. It really is a testimony to the people we have at the Giants, and I think many of you have worked with them. These 3 wonderful folks that are on the front lines. Sue Peterson, as mentioned, head of our foundation. Roscoe Maps, who does a lot of work for us in the community, one of our community liaisons, and Jack Bear, who handles is general counsel and handles all of our work with the board and City Hall. I think that one of the things that's really stands out to us in today's world, and it's a world that has a lot of challenges to be sure, is that sports does take a unique role and has an opportunity to inspire and galvanize communities. And I think we've all seen that. We see it all the time at our ballpark in that AT&T Park has the opportunity to serve as a role as a gathering place, not just for baseball games, but in the spirit of sort of a town square and of in an old-fashioned way, a community center. There are numerous occasions when people come to our ballpark, not just to watch ball games and not just to celebrate championships, but also to support awareness for the AIDS epidemic, to heal after the 9/11 tragedy, or, as you mentioned, to honor tens of thousands of kids, and those kids come to many games with Sue's program, the Junior Giants. These are children from low-income neighborhoods, and they've experienced not just the joy of baseball, but with curricula, life lessons about playing baseball through our Junior Giants program and the life lessons of growing up in a challenging environment. So when I think about all the heart-wrenching events that have occurred recently throughout our nation and also, of course, right here in San Francisco, I know that now more than ever, we in the sports industry have a responsibility to step beyond our comfort zone, to do more than just put on the games, but ask the question, how can we help? How can we unite our communities? And I have to say I'm extremely proud of the men and women of the Giants, 3 of whom represented here today, who are constantly asking those questions. And we ask you to come to us for whatever needs you may have that we can help with in the community. Thank you very much.
All right, and now we will have our second commendation from Supervisor John Avalos.
Thank you, President Breed. Today I'm honoring Ingleside resident Barry Pearl on the occasion of his retirement from the seating county of San Francisco. If Mr. Pearl could please come to the podium. Barry has worked for the city for 33 years, with the last 20 at the San Francisco Public Utilities Commission, reviewing and complying with complex rules and environmental regulations, including something we here at the Board of Supervisors are very familiar with, categorical exemptions under CEQA. Barry started his public service in November of 1983 as a code enforcement officer for the Planning Department, where he followed leads to verify complaints such as illegal commercial uses in residential areas and other residential property inspections. Over the years, he has helped the city enforce and review ever-increasingly complex city rules and regulations. When he first started working at planning, the planning code was one volume with about 400 pages, And today it's 3 volumes covering more than 2,000 pages and counting, thanks to many people on the Board of Supervisors. In 1996, Barry moved to the San Francisco Public Utilities Commission, Bureau of Environmental Management, where he deals with environmental review documents for a variety of San Francisco Public Utility Commission projects. He also prepares permit applications for the city's planning department and regional and state resource agency permits, such as the Bay Conservation and Development Commission. Before joining the city, Barry worked for the U.S. Department of the Interior at the Heritage Conservation and Recreation Service and National Park Service Western Regional Office in San Francisco. He was the Regional Environmental Review Officer, assessing environmental impact statements for compliance with the Historic Preservation Act and Land and Water Conservation Fund. Barry is a third-generation native San Franciscan with 2 degrees from San Francisco State University, a master's degree in public administration earned at the age of 50, there's still hope for me, and a bachelor's degree in geology. He grew up in the Sunset District and now lives in the Ingleside near City College with his wife, Tirza, and 4 cats, Mina, Rowan, Martin, and Goldie. Are they here? No.
No, not today.
Barry and his wife are active volunteers in the district, helping Rebuilding Together, a nonprofit that assists low-income, disabled, and elderly people with home safety and repair projects. And in District 11, there have been so many projects that have been helping so many elderly and disabled residents. It's really great that you've been involved in this work. He also leads free tours at Land's End through San Francisco City Guides. With his retirement, I hope that we will see more of you out there about your volunteer efforts and lending all of your great expertise you've had in the city and your knowledge of its history. And I'd love to be able to get a tour of Land's End myself.
Absolutely.
You're welcome to say a few words.
Thank you so much. Thank you, President Breed, Supervisor Avalos. I would like to thank the members of this board for this great honor today. As a third-generation San Franciscan and the son of a career civil servant in the Social Security Administration, I felt I was destined to serve the city I love. I want to thank the innumerable city workers I have known over the years in the almost 33 years that I've worked for the city and county of San Francisco. It's been a privilege to be a member of this government. And in my retirement, I will continue to be a volunteer to serve this community, not only with City Guides and Rebuilding Together, but I'm adding other volunteer activities every time I turn around. I do have to say it was a little hard act to follow the San Francisco Giants, but I am definitely honored and humbled by your recognition of my service to the city, and thank you again. And I will continue to help this community as much as I can.
Thank you again for your service, Mr. Pearl, and congratulations on your retirement. Okay, now we will return to our regular business and go back to, Madam Clerk, let's go to public comment.
At this time, the public may now address the entire Board of Supervisors for up to 2 minutes on items within the subject matter jurisdiction of the Board, to include the minutes and items on the adoption without reference to committee calendar, items 16 through 21. Public comment is not allowed when an item has been previously subject to public comment at a board committee. Pursuant to the board's rules, please direct your remarks to the board as a whole, not to individual supervisors and not to the audience. Speakers using translation assistance will be allowed twice the amount of time to testify, and if you would like to display a document on the overhead projector, please clearly state such to SFG TV and remove the document when the screen should return to live coverage of the meeting.
First speaker, please.
Members of the Board of Supervisors, Ray Hartz, Director, San Francisco Open Government. And on the screen, if they will put it up, is from your own website. The San Francisco Charter Section 2.108 states that the Board of Supervisors will liberally provide for the public's access to them, to their government meetings, documents, and records. That section of the charter is an example of Frank Herbert's quote, "Politics is the art of appearing candid and completely open while concealing as much as possible." It was reported in June that this question was asked by Supervisor Malia Cohen at a Rules Committee meeting. Certainly there's a way that you can request a calendar without being antagonistic, condescending, and overall an asshole. Wouldn't you agree? I would like to take this opportunity to answer this supervisor's question, sharing it with all the members of this board. Sometimes when dealing with city representatives and they are antagonistic, condescending, and overall, it is necessary to reply in kind. This list of 24 findings by the Sunshine Ordinance Task Force, including 5 against this Board of Supervisors, is clear indication that the public's right to access meetings, documents, and records is shown to be completely hypocritical when expressed by this Board of Supervisors and its members. President Breed, Supervisors Farrell and Marr don't give a damn about your rights under the law. If you make a public records request, they will not reply. When you file a complaint, they won't reply to the task force. When they have a hearing, they won't show up at the damn hearing. The only time they will show up is when it gets to the point where it's going to go to the Ethics Commission, and then their skinny little asses are right down there.
Next speaker, please.
Good afternoon, Andrew Yip, Chinatown Missionary Officer. The holy quick way for personal cultivation and mission pathways would be the inner deep contemplation works to match with holiness, and external common mercy of delivery for quick preaching works to accumulate good virtues. One should put oneself to ultimate clarity and purity with personal self-nature. Of holy studies, one enforces King's heavenly virtues to fulfill true self in quick success of anew of our people, leading them to follow up the holy way and to engage onto holy works of cultivation and mission pathways. Therefore, with collective efforts of common holy heavenly mission, the world turns to safe course of peaceful kingdom with peace of wellness for all people. Certainly, we can depart from the tragic forces of everything of human souls in destruction and can optimistically stepping forward to grand, joyful, common pathway of true success. The recovery of origin of true self-nature with spiritual accomplishment and the making complete success of family, social, and righteous career or business mean all aspects of realistic personal works of quick achievement, as well as offering true principle to anew of the people with the projection of one's bright human nature of divine justice and great mercy, of sitting contemplation of meditation works, of pathway of good virtues, of true principle in writing works, of family and social regulations for peaceful life, of establishment of great foundation of divine holiness, with such actualization of true principle to enhance true wisdom for all people, we can definitely achieve great prosperity for holiness of good hope for the new century. God bless Holy Mission. Amen.
Next speaker, please. SFG TV. Please begin, sir, and I will start the timer.
Trying to adjust this. There we go. Now, you know what I'm thinking? I wish I could find a way where I could get this book into the hands of everybody in the United States. That's what I'm thinking. And honestly, Roger Stone is the answer to my prayer. Roger Stone has known Donald Trump for 40 plus years, and he's the guy that actually got him to run for president. Now you say, how is he the answer to my prayers? For years, I've been holding up a sign on street corners asking people to Google the interview that Alex Jones had with Senator John DeCamp, who wrote the book, The Franklin Cover-Up. The Franklin Cover-Up has been quoted 4 times on chapter 27. 4 times, praise God. Thank you, Lord Jesus. And he said, when you pray, go into your closet, shut to thy door, and pray to thy Father which seeth in secret. And thy Father which seeth in secret will reward thee openly. I've been selling this book in Sausalito over the weekend, and everywhere I go into, not everywhere I go, but I honestly, God can do this. And I'm asking you to go to stonezone.com or infowars.com and get your copy of this, get your copy of the Clintons' War on Women, get your copy of LBJ. If Roger Stone's friend, Donald Trump, knows this stuff, and I think he does, they're good friends, then we have a situation here where basically he's going to indict the previous 4 presidents. May it be, Lord Jesus. I pray you bless Donald Trump. I pray you protect him. And I pray that you make him the next president. And Lord, I just pray that the Christians will get out there and witness and preach the gospel. There's nothing more important than preaching the gospel. Christ died for sinners, and he raised for our justification.
Next speaker, please.
My name is Charles Essler. I live in Supervisor Kim's district. Over this weekend, I had a domestic violence issue. I had called 911 at 1:52 in the afternoon, where I had an individual holding a knife to my neck. On my right and my left hand, I have visible wounds from pulling the knife from the individual. Come 3:45 p.m., no officer had responded to this. I walked down to the Tenderloin station officer, verbally abusive to the sergeant. Later on, I apologized when I learned only 4 officers were assigned currently on to the entire beat. Ms. Kim, I spoke to 2 of your staffers, one being Austin, very argumentative, asked to speak to Captain Gracie. I've spoken to her numerously, and I just want to know why the officers are being transferred out of the station. I can't give you names because the officers are afraid for retaliation. I have gone to the police commissioner and the police union, and how you can override their contract just amazes me, but no individual should have to do that. Because of that incident, and now it not being reported, I probably will lose my housing. So I can just say thank you for no support from your office, Jane Kim. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Kate Lust. I live in the Upper Haight, and I was given notice in June that as of August 6th, my rent was going to go up from $3,105.91 to $8,500. That happened on August 6th, and some friends pitched in. I got a 3-day to quit or cure, and I was able to cure for August. I haven't been able to come up with the difference from $3,000 to $8,500 for this month, so I'm expecting a 3-day to quit or cure, and then an unlawful detainer. I've lived in my apartment for 22 years. In my neighborhood, I've given lots and lots of hours of community service during that time. I've held babies at San Francisco General in the intensive care unit. I was in that program. I sat with dying people at Zen Hospice for years. In that program, I've given a lot of service because I believe in it. But I don't know how do you justify taking a woman's rent? And it's just a railroad flat. It's not a special big deal thing, but how do you justify $8,500 from $3,105.91? And I'm going down. I have no more money to give my attorney, and he can't work anymore without money. I have no more. He can't do any more pro bono for me either. And I'm terrified. And I'm really just a woman that's trying to keep her home. And I just came here because I wanted you to see me, because I'm not, so I wouldn't just be a...
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Next speaker, please.
Thank you, President Breed and all the cabal. My name is Christopher Dahl, and I still live at 6th and Howard, 10 blocks and still less than 40 years from sea level. I rise to comment on crony wars. Your crony faction has lost a consistently supportive member, so the mayor, the super crony, is now consistently losing votes. The anti-cronies have gained that consistent vote and are now pursuing their goals. Of course, the crony faction, painfully resembling the national coalition of sore losers who now control the Republican Party, began to shriek and moan in complaint. They had lost their majority, but thought they'd still deserved to rule. Member Wiener was loudly shocked and dismayed by simple electoral arithmetic, by more actual democracy than he was or is comfortable with. I speak, of course, of the charming contortions of argument that went on during the debate over the various police accountability measures several weeks ago. The cronies tried to find a way to hold SFPD accountable without pointing fingers at the lack of mayoral accountability, responsibility, or even engagement. The anti-cronies could not allow the mayor to escape scrutiny and had a competing measure to strip him of the burden of his neglected powers. In the process, the people of our beloved city and county were the losers. Each of your districts, each of your communities of interest, we the people in general, and the police community in particular, all deserve to be able to share confidence in a police force that is civil, sane, professional, and prepared. But you didn't even come close. We all lost. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good afternoon, all ladies and gentlemen and all supervisors.
Ma'am, please speak directly into the microphone. Thank you.
I'm Patty Sen. Today I come here to protest and tell all the supervisors how this law, no trespasses, hold me very dearly and deadly. Because my neighbor doesn't let my contractor getting the access to cross over her property line to do their work or finish their job. It has been holding almost 3 years since my house was in renovation 2013. As most San Francisco residential houses are built side by side and attached to each other, if some ill or unreasonable neighbor are using this law to prevent people to maintain the other people's property is not right. One of the senior inspector of 60 planning department showed me there is the chapter 14 in their book list on third floor. There is called California Building Maintaining Code, but I can't find any supportive information beyond the department. I'm a property owner. I should have the right to maintain my building, and I don't want my house getting rotten or collapse or any damage. I hope you can help me to pass my voice to mayor and grant the opportunity to my contractor to get this job done. I show you how bad my house One, I need the painting and repair. I need all those fixed. I need all those, the one piece is missing. I need to fix it. And there is my neighbor to cross the line. This is
Ma'am, please use the microphone. Speak into the microphone.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Hello. I think you guys all know me. A lot of you do. Here's a conundrum real quick that I ran into, okay? It took me a long time to get my SSI money on a card. Now I was getting it on a card. Someone stole my card, right? So I've been trying to recertify my SSI. Now they're telling me I have to have an address. I told them I don't have an address. So they're saying, well, without an address, I can't get my SSI money anymore. Well, I said, without money, how am I going to get an address? So at this point, that's the conundrum with SSI. I just went there today. They told me there's nothing they can do because the money's in the account, but I can't get it because I don't have an address. Anyway, neither here nor there. Some of the things I'd like to say, you always support the fire department because, let's see. Yeah, can you do a quick thing on here if I put it down? Yeah, because I like them, the fire department. They're the guys that take care of the fires. Now, there is one guy I like outside, and I'm going to say this. Nobody ever gives him accommodation. I think his name is Dennis. He's the little short guy that marches around outside. He's the guy, the little cop that runs around outside. His name is Dennis. I like him. He's a good guy. He might not be the top cop, but then I do all these cartoons, you guys. Like, this is my take on Kaepernick. I don't know if you saw it, but let's see. For sports fans, it makes him look kind of skinny. But, anyway, all these things I do just running around, for months because I haven't been able to get my SSI completely back. It's a conundrum. I have no idea how to solve it. I'm not politically conscious, but can somebody sell me a Trump button? You know why? Because I don't have one. I like to be politically balanced and stuff, but I collect buttons. Does anybody have a button for their office, or do they know how to get my SSI money back? I don't know. Anyway, have a good day. I love you all. I really do. And by the way, I like the mayor too. And Moscone.
Thank you, sir. Next speaker, please.
Have a good day. It's tough.
Good afternoon, Supervisors. I'm Peter Warfield, Executive Director of Library Users Association. On August 18th, the Library Commission met, and as part of the City Librarian's report, heard about a little thing called 750 Brannan Street lease. As far as I know, that was the very first time that the Library Commission heard about it. They certainly didn't vote to approve this deal, which is good for as much as 25 years at $1 million a year rent and $1 million of improvements. The minimum term initially is 10 years with 3 5-year renewals. So we have here a handout that came to the Library Commission meeting on August 18th, which I'd like to show you. Needs to be blown up, but one of the bullet items says potential space for Friends of the Library. And then it goes on to say that the lease was approved 2 weeks earlier by the Board of Supervisors on August the 2nd. And that's all we know about the facts until we look at the Board of Supervisors' agenda and find out that, yes, it was on the agenda August 2nd and presumably passed. This is a sweetheart deal to bail out the Friends who your legislative analyst said were facing a major rent increase. What your Harvey Rose report did not say was something that was brought up at the commission. They plan not only to have their executive offices there, they also plan to do their book collection and their book sales from that location, which is not a public library, publicly open space. I think that's an outrage, and I think that you need to know what's going on, and so does the public, and the library's not telling. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Tom Gilberti. I've just recently heard somebody say that they had some consternation about some words that I had spoke that here at the microphone. They were never meant that way. They were never aimed that way. I would like to just continue it in an area, especially in this part of the season with the Opera House and coming alive again. But we move on. When I was a kid, 5, 6, 7, 8, growing up, a society indoctrinated, schools, going to church, whatnot. I have some problems. I have some consternations about lilies of the field and faith. I probably will always have that. I also, at about the same time, growing up, I had I still have a consternation of freedom of speech. What we do here. One of the few places we can do this. And the people that lined up today, they're part of us. This is the only avenue, basically, you can have for 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes, I would prefer. And a voice is important. Twitter, whatever, the screens. I was raised with the screen. Howdy Doody, Mickey Mouse. I am a product of it. And I'm saying that the voice and being here and having this avenue unrestricted, if you want to campaign for an item for yourself or whatnot, you have more experience here in this chamber and in the government office than I do. I don't think it would be harmful. It was good stuff what we got here today. And I disagree. I want to thank the clerk for being as generous as she is. And I would also disagree. I would like to sign a petition. 27% mayor doesn't ring. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please. If there's anyone else who would like to address the board during public comment, this is your opportunity. Madam President, I don't see anyone further who'd like to address public comment.
Okay, seeing none, public comment is now closed. All right, let's go to our 3 p.m. special order.
The first 3 p.m., Madam President, items 6 through 9. These items comprise the special order at 3 p.m. for a public hearing of persons interested in the September 18th, 2014 decision by Public Works approving a tentative map for a 2-unit new construction condominium project located at 639 Peralta Avenue. This hearing has been continued from May 24th, 2016. Items 7, 8, and 9 are the motions approving and disapproving the parcel map and the motion directing the preparation of findings.
It's my understanding that we're going to do a continuance yet again. Supervisor Campos.
Thank you, Madam President. Colleagues, welcome back. This has been an ongoing saga of multiple continuances, and the reason is because of the unique nature of this item, where you have issues that ultimately involved some questions of law that should properly be resolved by a court, and the continuances that have happened have been done in anticipation that at some point those issues would be resolved by the court. Unfortunately, the timing hasn't worked out the way that we expected, and procedurally there are still open questions as to when a substantive decision would be issued. So with that in mind, it appears that it's going to take a lot longer for us to have a court resolve the underlying legal issues that need to be resolved. And so my goal and my intent would be to continue this for as long as possible to give the legal proceeding an opportunity to go forward. As I understand it from the parties, it's going to take actually a long time, several months, for us to have that resolution. And after checking with the clerk of the board, it seems that even though the appropriate thing would be to continue it for a long period of time. That the longest that we can continue at this point is to December 13th, 2016, because at that point we'll have a better sense of what the calendar for the board will be beyond that. So with that in mind, I move to continue this item open to December 13th, 2016. And again, I thank my colleagues for their understanding of this very interesting and complicated matter.
Thank you, Supervisor. Campos has made a motion to continue this item until December 13, 2016. It was seconded by Supervisor Peskin. And is there any public comment on the continuance? Seeing none, public comment is now closed. And on the continuance, Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Supervisor Tang?
Aye.
Tang, aye. Supervisor Wiener? Wiener, aye. Supervisor Yee?
Aye.
Yee, aye. Supervisor Avalos? Aye. Avalos, aye. Supervisor Breed?
Aye.
Breed, aye. Supervisor Campos?
Aye.
Campos, aye. Supervisor Cohen? Cohen, aye. Supervisor Farrell? Farrell, aye. Supervisor Kim? Kim, aye. Supervisor Marr?
Aye.
Marr, aye. Supervisor Peskin?
Aye.
Peskin, aye. There are 11 ayes.
Okay, those items are continued to the meeting of December 13th, 2016. Madam Clerk, let's go to our next 3 o'clock special order, items 10 and 11.
Items 10 and 11 comprise the special order at 3 p.m. pursuant to a resolution number 360-16 approved on August 2nd, 2016. The Board of Supervisors will convene a committee of the whole for a public hearing to consider the subject matter of item 11, an ordinance which orders the conditional vacation of portions of streets and the respective public service easements that exist within the subphases 1A and 1B of the Park Merced Development Project area, an approximate 152-acre site located in the Lake Merced district, conditionally reserving various easement rights in favor of the city and third-party utilities, authorizing the Director of Real Estate to execute certain quitclaim deeds, adopting the appropriate findings, and authorizing actions by city officials in furtherance of this ordinance.
Okay, colleagues, we're sitting as a committee of the whole to discuss a street vacation order for the Park Merced Development Project. Let's open up this hearing. Supervisor Yee, as a district representative, would you like to make opening remarks?
Thank you, President Bree. I would, as most of you know, that's been here longer than I, the Park Merced development has been in the books for quite a few years now, and for several years it had not gone too far. But more recently, there's been movement in this, and there's been community meetings around different issues that are presented to the residents at this moment. And the other thing is, once this is getting started, it's not one of these immediate completion of a project. It's going to take many, many years to complete. So this particular item is something that has always been in the development plans or the agreement. So I see this as more of a procedural issue that we need to take. The only emails I've gotten from residents is mainly on this particular issue is that they didn't quite understand what it really was, and we try to explain to them, and it seems okay to them. But I would urge the management of Park Merced to maybe do a better job in reaching out to the residents and explaining these little steps, because I think once you explain it, they'll be fine. I urge that we will hopefully pass this resolution.
Thank you, Supervisor Yee. And seeing that there are no names on the roster, we will open this item up to public comment. Are there any members of the public who'd like to provide public comment on this particular item? Seeing none, public comment is now closed. All right, and this hearing has been held and is now filed, and we will reconvene as the Board of Supervisors. Madam Clerk, let's go to the item, and on item number 11, can you please call the roll?
Item 11, Supervisor Tang.
Aye.
Tang, aye. Supervisor Wiener. Wiener, aye. Supervisor Yee.
Aye.
Yee, aye. Supervisor Avalos. Avalos, aye. Supervisor Breed.
Aye.
Breed, aye. Supervisor Campos.
Aye.
Campos, aye. Supervisor Cohen. Cohen, aye. Supervisor Farrell. Farrell, aye. Supervisor Kim. Kim, aye. Supervisor Marr.
Aye.
Marr, aye. Supervisor Peskin.
Aye.
Peskin, aye. There are 11 ayes.
The ordinance is passed unanimously on the first reading. All right, Madam Clerk, let's go to items 16 through 21.
Items 16 through 21 are being considered for adoption without committee reference. A single roll call vote may enact these items. A member may object, sever an item, and have it considered separately.
Supervisor Marr?
I'd like to sever 16, 17, 18, and I'll be severing 19 and 20 to continue for 1 week.
Okay, well, I guess we will call them all individually at this point. Item number 16, Madam Clerk.
Item 16 is a resolution to support all efforts by the California State Legislature and Governor on Proposition 55 to extend funding for state education and health care initiatives, which would prolong the temporary personal income tax increases approved in 2012 on incomes over $250,000.
Supervisor Marr?
Thank you. I strongly urge support for our board in San Francisco to continue the extension of Proposition 30 passed in 2012 that ensures about $4 to $9 billion a year over 12 years to K through 12 schools and community colleges. I think it's 90% to K through 12 schools and about 10% to community colleges. And then there's some years where health equity for low-income kids and families is supported. It's a millionaire's tax for education, and it's really an equitable tax that would help so many and our schools. That's why it's supported by our school districts, school boards, and many others, medical professionals. I wanted to give a shout out to the Chinese Progressive Association, United Educators of San Francisco, ACE, and many others that are advocating on the grassroots level to support extension of the millionaire's tax for education. So I urge support.
Madam Clerk, on item number 16, can you please call the roll?
On item 16, Supervisor Tang.
Aye.
Tang, aye. Supervisor Wiener. Wiener, aye. Supervisor Yee.
Aye.
Yee, aye. Supervisor Avalos.
Aye.
Avalos, aye. Supervisor Breed.
Aye.
Breed, aye. Supervisor Campos.
Aye.
Campos, aye. Supervisor Cohen. Cohen, aye. Supervisor Farrell. Farrell, aye. Supervisor Kim. Kim, aye. Supervisor Marr.
Aye.
Marr, aye. Supervisor Peskin. Peskin, aye. There are 11 ayes.
The resolution is adopted unanimously. Item number 17.
Item
Thank you.
17 is a resolution to support the efforts of the California State Legislature on Proposition 56, which would increase the cigarette tax by 87 cents per pack to fund health care, education, tobacco use prevention, and research.
Supervisor Marr.
Thank you. I wanted to thank co-sponsors Supervisor Campos, Farrell, Kim, and Wiener. This is, I think, a no-brainer, extending increasing the tax on a pack of cigarettes by 87 cents, including e-cigarettes containing nicotine. I think it's one of the reasons why the American Lung Association, Heart Association, and many other well-respected medical entities support this. It's really holding big tobacco accountable, saving lives, preventing kids from being hooked on nicotine and tobacco and e-cigarette products. It will raise a huge amount of money, and don't be fooled potentially by misleading ads by the big tobacco industry. I urge support and wanted to thank again our San Francisco Tobacco Free Coalition and youth-led efforts locally, but also statewide efforts to ensure that we protect the health of youth and our communities. I urge support.
Thank you, colleagues. Can we take this item? Same house, same call. Without objection, the resolution is adopted unanimously. Item 18.
Item 18 is a resolution to support the California Multilingual Education Act, Proposition 58, for effective language acquisition programs ensuring all pupils become English proficient and encouraging all students, including English-speaking students, to learn a second language.
Supervisor Marr.
Thank you. Another really important statewide educational equity proposition, Prop 58, the LEARN Initiative, Language Education Acquisition and Readiness Now Initiative, really comes about in the aftermath of the passage of what I view as a terrible anti-bilingual education measure, Prop 227 from 1998. What came together out of that was Californians Together, the California Teachers Association, and CABE, the California Association of Bilingual Educators, now introducing a measure that would increase local control so that districts with large numbers of ELLs or English learners really can have enough funding, local control funding procedures, and it removes costly mandates, including current expensive waiver requirements for many districts that used to have multilingual and bilingual education programs that now can't for different reasons. San Francisco, as has been stated by numerous resolutions and policies, we want to provide our students with the highest quality education and prepare them for college and careers, but also to promote language equality so that immigrants can maintain their heritage language, but also English-dominant kids can become fully bilingual or multilingual. Prop 58 supports English instruction for all students and provides schools and parents with broader opportunities to offer multilingual programs and prepare our students with global skills to be bridge builders and successful people for the 21st century global economy. I wanted to thank Californians Together, CTA, the California Association of School Administrators, the School Boards Association, Latino School Board members, and locally it's the Latino or LATA, the Latin American Teachers Association, along with CABE and many others that have been advocating for language equality for years. I urge support for this resolution, putting us on the record supporting Prop 58 and multilingual education.
Thank you. Colleagues, can we take this item, same House, same call? Without objection, the resolution is adopted unanimously. And item 19 and 20 together.
Item 9.
You're going to ask for a continuance on both for the same date? Call item 19 and 20 together, please.
Item 19, resolution to support efforts of the California State Legislature to support Proposition 67, which would uphold legislation banning plastic bags. Item 20, resolution to support the San Francisco Unified School District Resolution number 166-14SP1, ordering a school bond in the amount of approximately $744,000.
Supervisor Marr.
Thank you. For item 19 on the state plastic bag ban, I wanted to say that I thank you to Save the Bay and others for giving input. We put it into new language in a resolution, but we need more time to look at it. But I wanted to thank former Supervisor Rosmir Karimi and former Sheriff and our Environmental Coalition for taking the lead as the first city and now kind of statewide, really protecting our environmental policies like the plastic bag ban. So I urge continuation until our September 13th meeting. For item 20, I wanted to thank Supervisor Tang for raising some questions that we're waiting on the school district to provide, from teacher housing to how the bond oversight committees have operated in the past. So we're waiting for information. So I move that we continue these two items, 19 and 20, to our next meeting on September 13, 2016.
Supervisor Marr has made a motion to continue items 19 and 20.
Madam President, one moment. Supervisor Marr, you submitted amendments to us?
Yes.
Did you want to wait on those amendments, or were you going to introduce them today?
Actually, if they haven't already been formally introduced, I'll wait to look at them and probably introduce them between now and next week.
Okay.
Thank you, Madam
Supervisor Marr has made a motion to continue items 19 and 20 to the meeting of September 13, 2016. It was seconded by Supervisor Cohen. Colleagues, can we take that continuance without objection? Without objection, items 19 and 20 will be continued to the meeting of September 13, 2016. And colleagues, on item number 21, can we take that motion? Same House, same call. Without objection, the
Madam
motion.
President,
Yes.
I'll just state that that's a motion to approve a final map 8594, a two-lot vertical subdivision located at 100 Van Ness Avenue.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Colleagues, can we take that motion can we approve the motion, same house, same call? Without objection, the motion is approved unanimously. Colleagues, I, without objection, will reopen public comment. Are there any members of the public who'd like to provide public comment at this time who had not provided public comment previously?
Yes.
Please come forward.
Hello?
Yes.
Hi. Okay. Thank you, first of all, for hearing me today. Sorry. I have been living in an SRO for almost 4 years. In that 4 years, I feel like my body and my life have been abused more than I ever imagined would happen to myself. I can handle the SRO rules, regulations, the restrictions that they put on people. But at the end of the day, the tenants are the ones who are living in those buildings. And I applaud, always have. I love what San Francisco does for the people and for housing them. And I know that you all are counting gladly the number of people that we house. But who is counting the people who die earlier, more miserably, or unnecessarily because of the housing that they've given? Politics is something I know nothing really about. I'm really eager to learn. It's important to protect the people. The EPA doesn't even think about San Francisco, even though we have a headquarters here on Hawthorne that has suffered sick building syndrome, the same exact thing that my building, 141 Eddy Street, has. Somebody.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Someone will talk to you afterwards. Thank you. Are there any members of the public who'd like to provide public comment who hadn't had a chance to speak previously? Seeing none, public comment is now closed. All right. Madam Clerk, will you please read the in memoriams?
Yes, today's meeting will be adjourned in memory of the following beloved individuals. On behalf of Supervisor Campos, for the late Gloria Best, Juan Gabriel. On behalf of Supervisor Peskin, for the late Judith Litke and Delia Fleischacker Ehrlich. And at the suggestion of Supervisor Peskin, on behalf of the entire Board of Supervisors, for the late Warren James Hinkle III.
Colleagues, this brings us to the end of our agenda. Madam Clerk, is there any further business before us today?
That concludes our business for today.
Seeing none, we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.